What was I able to do at Z-Best? When I came to Z-Best, they were doing $400,000 worth of business a year. Within 3 months, I raised them $7 million to expand their company. A couple months later, not working for Z-Best, I took a company public. And it was my first public offering. It was a company called LA Gear. Anyone here ever heard of LA Gear? My stock options were worth $52 million. And I said, why should I keep looking for money for Barry Minko that he has to pay back? Why don't we do an IPO? And so we went to NASDAQ and we did an IPO and we raised $13 million for Z-Best. We were oversubscribed 300%. Could have raised $40 million. Based on that $13 million IPO, I went to banks and got $29 million in credit lines. I never showed them one document. I just said, we're going to do more of the same. And they said, the only document we care about is this one that says Ernst & Winnie on the bottom. It says, you're for real. And at one point, I went into a bank, Union Bank, and I was going to ask for $4 million. And as I started to say the word 4, I went 7. And the guy goes, you got it. And then I went, damn, I should have asked for 10. And the next day, I had the credit line. And I said, well, then I played a game called Takeaway with the banker. I said, I don't know if I want your money, because you have this bad rule that I have to pay down my credit line 1 month out of every year, and I can't do that. They said, oh, no, we'll waive that for you. We'll give you 5-year interest only. Guarantee no call. What does that sound like to you? At 2 points over prime. That's the cheapest junk bond in the history of the world. I go, 5 years, I'll probably be in Hong Kong by then. Nobody's going to pay this back. All I got to do is pay the interest? Man, this is like stealing. Now, when I bought my first condo, I was making $250,000 a year playing professional rugby, and I was trying to buy a $70,000 condo. I had to fill out 900 pieces of paper, and they turned me down twice. Suddenly, 5 years later, I walk into a bank, and they go, oh, $7 million? Sure. Need any quarters? Now, all of that was able to happen because they were at least honest with me. They said, this is happening because we see these 2 words at the bottom of a page, Ernst & Winnie. And that was the good housekeeping seal of approval. And that's all I needed. That's all I needed. After I got the $29 million in credit lines, I got a call from a man by the name of T. Boone Pickens. Has anyone here ever heard of him? He's very famous for a thing called green mail, which I'm not going to explain now. I think you all know what it is anyway. And he flew me out to his home, and he said, Mark, how are you going to expand your business now that you guys are the toast of Wall Street? I said, well, the way everybody does. We're going to take the money and open new carpet cleaning things and expand. Now, every fraud has to have a huge part of reality. And we had thousands of employees that clean carpets. Just like Enron had a big building with people in it. The fact that a lot of them weren't doing anything doesn't really matter. You hide your fraud behind the facade of something that's extremely real. And our carpet cleaning was real. And T. Boone told me, he said, don't grow the company. He said, go buy one that's already grown. Too bad you can't do that with kids, you know. Great. And on the flight home, I read that Sears was going to sell its carpet cleaning company. So I got home and I called Sears and Roebuck. I said, I want to buy your carpet cleaning company. And I said, what do you want for it? And the guy goes, well, we have some bids. And I said, I'll beat whatever bids you have. Tell me what it is. And he goes, I'm not allowed to. I said, do you want the money or not? He said, well, we've been offered $23 million. I said, you got 25. I'll send you $1 million today in cash. You hold it for me. Give me 90 days to pay you. He goes, well, what if you don't buy it in 90 days? I said, keep my $1 million. I said, you got it. I then drew up a 40-page prospectus that I took to Prudential Bache, and in 1 hour, they guaranteed me $44 million in junk bonds the minute I had an audited statement. But that same day, I got greedy, and I shopped the deal. I drove over to Drexel Burnham, and Lowell Milken met me there, and he said, you just left Prue Bache, and they offered you $44 million. I said, what, do you have a spy over there? He goes, yep, we got a bunch of them. They offered me $51 million. So being a smart guy, I drove back to Prue Bache, and I walked in, and they said, you son of a, they go, you just were over talking to the Milkens over there at Drexel Burnham, and they offered you more money. And I said, can't you guys move closer together so I don't have to drive back and forth? And I got to use a word. I'd always wanted to use this word. I finally got to use a word. I said, wait a minute, bub. I got a fiduciary responsibility to my stockholders to get the most money. Oh, I love that. Fiduciary just sounded so professional. So they offered me $63 million. By the end of the day, Drexel Burnham gave me $88 million to buy a $25 million company. And I started to leave, and Michael Milken came in and said, no, you sit down. You're not going anywhere. I said, can I go to the bathroom? He goes, if you leave your cell phone here. He said, we're flying Barry in on a helicopter. You're signing these papers today. You're not shopping this deal anymore. Now, I had an agreement with Barry Minko that I got to keep 10% of every dollar I raised, whether it was borrowed, junk bond, anything. 10% goes to me. So in one day, I made $8.8 million. Not bad. Some of you have to work a whole year to me. And within a week, Michael Milken called me in his office. He said, I'm going to sign an irrevocable letter of commitment from Drexel to you saying the following. If you can buy Sears and make it profitable within 9 months, he said, we'll get you $820 million to do a hostile takeover of a company called ServiceMaster. Anyone here ever heard of ServiceMaster? I said, why wait 9 months? I'll make it profitable tomorrow. I know how to do that. I'll make up the paperwork. And within 1 month, Milken told me that he and a company called KKR were going to do a $29 billion junk bond offering for RJR and Nabisco, and they were going to spin out $2.6 billion of it into my company. So in 29 months, my company was going to go from a $400,000 a year company to a $4 billion multinational corporation owning ServiceMaster, Beatrice Foods, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And all of that based on phony documents. Documents that no one ever asked the right questions about.
Now, sometimes what you need to look at is not a document. In fact, most of the time, frauds can be discovered ignoring documents, but focusing on what I call the story. And you say to yourself, what is the story I've been told? Here's the story at ZBest. We do insurance restoration work. We don't build anything, we rebuild stuff. We're like a big interior decorator. An appraiser comes out and gives us the work. We turn in a competitive bid. We win the bid. We do the work, and we're not paid directly by the insurance companies. We're paid by the appraiser. And that's the ZBest story. And we're doing about $400 million worth of that stuff. Now, how many of you here have ever worked with companies that do competitive bids? Anybody? There, one guy telling the truth. Good. Well, by definition, if it's a competitive bid, the profit margins usually are single digit, to say the least, right? I mean, but at ZBest, we averaged, guess what percentage profit? Almost 52% profit. Anyone here think that's kind of a red flag? Do you know, no one ever asked me how we make that profit in 29 months. Warren Buffett doesn't make 53%. Bill Gates doesn't, Kirk Kerkorian doesn't, but we do in a competitive bid business. One day we were having what's called an all-hands meeting. Anyone here ever been to an all-hands meeting? Of course you have. You know, where everybody stands around and you rewrite the prospectus and you pay $400 an hour for saying, gee, Mark, change the word may to shall. Good thinking. And one day during our all-hands meeting, we broke for lunch, and during lunch, while we're all eating our little dim sum Chinese food, standing up, a waiter comes up to me and says, Mr. Morze, I'm going to LA City College and I'm taking pre-accounting A1. And I'd like to ask you how it is you managed to make the 50% profit on these jobs. And I inhaled some dim sum. And almost needed a Heimlich. Whatever. And I sat there thinking, oh my God. And just remember those old E.F. Hutton commercials where they go, when E.F. Hutton talks, people listening gets all quiet. Everyone in the room got quiet and looked at me. Kind of like, you know, Mark, we wondered that too. So I stood behind a lectern at that meeting and I said, all the service people have to leave because I'm going to tell you a secret. And I said, everybody's been wondering, I said, here is the secret to ZBEST profit margins. And I actually was going to use the story as a double purpose. Purpose number one, to explain the 50% profit margin. Purpose number two, to explain why we were going to stop doing restorations and just quit doing them and give away the $400 million per year in work we got. And I said the following story. I said, if you look at our invoices, you will notice that over half of the money spent on every job is carpet, new carpet. I go, but we signed an arrangement with the appraisers, with all of the insurance companies, that when we come in and we restore a building, we do not have to replace the carpet with the exact same color of carpet that was there previously, as long as the carpet is of equal or better value, and as long as it's an earth tone. And I said, what happened is this. Barry Minko and I have gone to every carpet mill in the southeastern United States that are going bankrupt because they can't compete with the Pacific Rim. And we've bought millions of dollars worth of bankrupt company carpet at 5 cents on the dollar. We make all of our profit by installing carpet. We are not a good restoration company. We're a good carpet selling company. That's where all our profit comes from. But guess what? We've run out of carpet. So now we have to stop doing restorations, but since we're buying ServiceMaster, we don't want to be doing restorations anyway. Ergo, and you don't get to use the word ergo a lot. I said, we're going to stop doing restorations, and now you know the secret to our success. Is there anyone in this room that can tell me what's wrong with that story? Because everyone who heard that story went, that's brilliant. This guy is brilliant. This man is brilliant, brilliant. Gotta meet my daughter. You're brilliant. I'm serious. Can anyone tell me what's wrong with that story? It sounds pretty good, didn't it? I mean, that's pretty damn good. That explains the profit margin, explains why you're going to quit doing them. Can't even sell the restoration division because it's never made any money, really. Well, here's what's wrong with that story. Sir, do you own a car? What color is it? A silver, he had to think about it. I got so many of them. He's got a silver car. Suppose he gets in a fender bender, he brings that car to my repair shop. I say, sir, I'll fix your car, but when you get it back, it's going to be pink, because I got a great deal on pink paint. He would probably tell me where I could put that pink paint, I would think. And he would say no, and I would say, oh, wait a minute. The insurance companies say I can pick the color. The appraiser says I can pick the color. All of the carpet mills in the southeastern United States says I can pick the color. Who are you to tell me what color you wanted? And he would answer, I'm the insured. My story doesn't make sense, does it? That's not the way insurance works. When you file a claim, I don't tell you what color we're going to put carpet back in your house. You tell me. My story makes no sense. From an economic standpoint, does it make any sense? Why would a bankrupt company sell a carpet at 5 cents on the dollar? Why? They can't compete with the Pacific Rim. Well, the Pacific Rim sells carpet for a certain price, right? Then why doesn't this bankrupt company just sell it for $1 less? How is it that only we know this magic secret? But the reason that story held was because all people wanted to do was put a check mark next to something, not on a real piece of paper, but in their mind. They said, I'm supposed to ask a question like this, so I got a check mark. Gave a pretty good answer. Golly gee, that was pretty good. Couldn't have just made that up. And so they put a mental check mark next to, how does he make a 50% profit? And they even applauded. They gave me what I call a silent standing ovation. Oh, that's brilliant. That's so smart.